Hi, I'm Treasure. Thanks for joining me. I want to talk to you a little bit about having a bad show. I'm going to tell you a story, and my stories always seem to have roots. So I'm going to tell you the root, then I'll tell you the story. My daughter was a child dancer. She started dancing when she was 3. When she was about 7, she had a really bad show. She was out on stage and she looked like she didn't know that dance at all. And I was standing in the wings watching, and the instructor was shouting instructions at her. So not only did she not know the dance, but it was as though the instructor was speaking a foreign language. It was like she didn't even understand what the instructor was saying to do. It was just really bad. But because she was 7, it was a much bigger deal to me than it was to her. So the next week when I took her to class, I was told that she was being moved up. And I thought, how can that be? And so I called the director and I said, I was told my daughter's being moved up. And he said, yes, she's ready. And I said, how could she be ready? She had a horrible performance. And I proceeded to tell him everything that I'd seen, everything I observed from the wings and how bad it was. And he said, well, she's allowed to have a bad show once in a while. Everybody's allowed to have a bad show sometimes. That doesn't mean she's not a good dancer. That doesn't mean that she shouldn't be moved up. It just means she has a bad show, and that can happen to anybody, and she's allowed to have a bad show. She's ready to be moved up. So I got outvoted, and you know what? She did great. She really blossomed and thrived and did very well in the next group. So now fast forward a number of years, and I was dancing at a charity event. And I was standing in the back of the room watching the other performances, and a dancer came out and she was going to be performing with Isis wings. From the moment she picked them up, they were tangled. And she kept her composure, but she spent the entire performance struggling with the wings and trying to untangle them and get them to cooperate. And I saw her afterwards in the dressing room, and she was very upset. Her troupe hadn't done well, and this whole thing with the wings that had gone so badly, and she just was really upset. And she said, oh my gosh, how bad did it look? Well, what are you going to say? I couldn't really say, oh, I don't think anybody noticed. I think it was fine. No, that was not going to fly. So I thought for a moment, and I told her exactly what my director had said. I said, you know what? Everybody's allowed to have a bad show once in a while, and you perform a lot. So chances are you're going to have a bad show once in a while. That's going to happen. And you know what? You're allowed. You're allowed to have a bad show. And I could see from her face that she knew that I was telling the truth. I wasn't trying to sugarcoat it and tell her, oh, no, nobody noticed, everything's fine. I was telling her the truth. And she started to relax a little bit. So I added my own thoughts. And that is, you know what? Every performance can't be your very best performance that you've ever had. When you perform a lot, there's going to come a point where you can't keep out-topping yourself. You can't keep one-upping yourself. And every single performance is not going to be the best performance you've ever had. So you're allowed to have bad performances, you're allowed to have a bad show, and you also have to realize that every single time you go out and dance, it can't be the very best thing you've ever done. And again, I could see that she knew that I was being frank with her, that this was the truth, and she felt, I think, a whole lot better. So the next time you have a bad show, or the next time you see your performance video and you cringe and think, oh, that's not what I imagined it was going to look like, because we've all done that. I want you to remember this story and pick yourself up, dust yourself off, resolve to make whatever changes you need to so that that particular problem doesn't happen again, and just keep going, keep going, keep going. I know you can do it. Thanks again for joining me, and I hope to see you in the next video.